Hey everyone, welcome to the show. We got Michael Prem with us today. Michael is currently the head of recruiting over at Skyflow. Hey Michael, thanks for joining us.
Hey James, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for finding me on LinkedIn. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Happy to be here with you. Where'd you grow up?
I would say like when I get asked this question, I typically say I grew up in Toronto. Been here over 25 years. Came here when I was about 10 years old. Where was I born? I was born in Sri Lanka, Colombo. Left when I was 3. Went to Zambia, Africa. Parents left Sri Lanka. There was some civil war happening there. It was for a better situation. They moved to Zambia. At that time, my uncle had moved there as well. So we knew somebody there. And then I spent most of my childhood there. I would say up until from 3 to 10 years old, I was in Zambia. It was a beautiful life there. And then in the year 1998, I remember we did like a world tour. We did a summer trip. We went to India, the UK, and Canada. And I think it was that year we came back home and my parents were like, hey, we're moving to Canada. So I've been here since I was 10 years old. So a long time.
Zambia, you know what? I don't think we've ever had anyone on the show that grew up there. And unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot about Zambia. What was it like growing up there?
Oh man, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it was a very what I would call comfortable childhood. My dad had a business there. He started up again from nothing, really. We came there. We lived with my uncle for a bit. And then next thing you know, obviously it's so long ago, it's just
Yeah.
flashes of memory at this point. But I just remember every weekend, my parents were celebrating with their parents. We were having backyard barbecues and music and dancing and drinking. I'm sure they were having a good time. And it was just fun. I don't remember much struggle, I would say, except for the one time I had malaria. But
Oh,
I think it was a very comfortable life for the most part. And we went to international school, played rugby, swam a lot. We were able to travel a lot. I think visited one of the wonders of the world, Victoria Falls. It's incredibly beautiful. Of course, when you're a kid, it just seems so massive. I'm sure it is big, but to walking that bridge from end to end and the mist just hitting you as a kid is very strong. So I
yeah.
just remember those feelings. And then, of course, the real African lion safari,
Looking
which
at
was
the
wonderful.
Victoria Falls right now, it's beautiful.
Incredible, man. Incredible.
Wow. Oh my God. All right, for anybody tuning in, you got to look it up on Google. It's just gorgeous. Kind of
Yeah, and
flows
they
at like
actually
a
have that metal bridge that goes from one side of the falls to the other, and you can walk it with a raincoat or rain cover, and the mist just hits you, and it's such a good feeling.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking this up right now.
Nice.
Wow. A lot of beautiful rainbows, it looks like, too. There's a
Yeah,
lot of beautiful
yeah.
rainbows.
And I'll tell you a story about the safari there. I remember this vividly because we camped on the site there in Kenya. The safari was in Kenya, so we made a bit of a drive, but it was like the second day or so, and we were in the Toyota truck, the Ranger truck, and the truck all of a sudden dies, the battery dies, and this is
No.
while we were beside a group of lions, and they were just literally 15 feet away, and my dad and my uncle had to change the battery of the car. And meanwhile, I just remember the ranger pointing his gun at the lions, just waiting, and while my dad and uncle changed the battery, it was all fine. But obviously when you're a little kid, again, size, it was all very close, it was all very big, and
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it's a little different from the safaris you go here in Toronto, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the lions were just like, were they even interested in
They
what
were
you
just
guys were
chilling,
doing?
they're
They
just
didn't care.
sunbathing, it was
Yeah.
fine. They probably had a good meal.
Yeah, thank God. Wow, what a cool experience. And so then your family moved to Toronto when you were 10. What was it like?
Yeah, I just remember consistently asking my parents why did we come here. And they've told me different answers over the years. I remember that during that year, like 98, a lot of our close friends that we would hang out with in Zambia all started moving. Some went to the UK, some went to Australia, the US, Canada. And I think it's because when it came to education, like post-secondary education, there just wasn't a lot of options. So people started leaving. I guess they just wanted their children to grow up in the education system more long term. So that's what they've always told me. But I remember when we came to Toronto, my first winter was fun as a kid. You enjoy it, but then you have to spend your recess in it at school, and you're like, okay, mom, this jacket isn't good enough. We need something a little bit thicker, and so yeah, it was even when we visited Toronto, we have a lot of family here. So in 98, when we did that trip and we came to Canada, like Toronto, and had met all my cousins for the first time on my mom's side, one of the things I remember so clearly was my dad, like just saying, hey, I'll be back in 15 minutes. And then he left and he came back with, and this is for the first time I'm seeing this, McDonald's. And that first bite as a kid of a chicken like McNugget, I tell you, like it was a bite of heaven. And so when we came back to Canada, obviously I'm like, I gotta have some McNuggets. And so yeah, it was confusing at first because we were in Zambia for so long and life was so comfortable and wonderful. And so we didn't really understand, but I think it's now looking back, like the opportunity to have grown up with all my cousins, all the friends I have. I'm glad they made the choice they made. But again, them coming here, they had to basically like restart their lives, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the exchange rate was so friendly from Zambian, I think they called it kwacha, to Canadian dollars. So it was literally restarting their lives. And I think they've always sacrificed a lot for me and my siblings. So yeah, it was an interesting journey early on.
Yeah. And you were, in terms of that school, you had a lot of interest, right? Like you were into math, art. You were also playing a lot of sports, I think, growing up too, right?
Yeah. Growing up, I think my favorite subject was math. I think my dad, being like an accountant by trade, he always made sure I got the support I needed when it came to mathematics. So I really enjoyed math, especially like doing homework with him. Like he would just teach me cool tricks and how to solve different problems. I remember that very clearly. But I also loved art, and I got that from my mom. So she's just so creative and open. And so she always supported that side of me, and actually probably comes from my mom's side because two of her sisters and my grandfather were like musicians. So that creativity definitely came from her. And so it was a good balance. I enjoyed both. Eventually, as I got older and got into high school, I fell in love with sports. I picked up basketball, and then I just fell in love with the game. It's given me so many wonderful memories and taught me a lot. I had some great coaches. And so I really enjoyed the competitive nature of playing at a high level. And eventually, I think I lean probably more towards athletics than academics. But
But you also
yeah,
went to a kind of an interesting high school, right? Like you said there wasn't like traditional teachers. They would just, you could explain it better than me, but like my
yeah,
understanding was they just gave you all your work for the year and said, "Hey, here, like, you have to do all this stuff by June," or like, how did that
exactly
work?
that. The school was called Mary Ward,
Is
and
it
it was
public
an
school or like what?
experiment. It was a Catholic high school.
Okay, yeah.
There was two schools like that in all of Canada, one in BC, one in Toronto, and it was called self-directed learning. It was pretty close to my house, and a lot of my friends went there. So it was non-semestered, which means essentially you got all your subjects at the beginning of the year, and you had to complete all the work required and take exams and stuff by the end of the year, which is September to June. Of course, you're a 14-year-old kid and all the freedom. Like at that point, I think they've changed the rules a lot. They've played around with it. Like we were experimenting on, let's be real. At 14 years old, you're not really that disciplined. I speak for myself, not for everyone. Some
Yeah.
people did really well. But myself, if I didn't have to have my attendance taken, I'm gonna go play basketball. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. I'm gonna just procrastinate a little bit more. And so I remember just grade 9 and 10, the work was fine, but when you get to grade 11, 12, the work got a little bit more difficult. But essentially, me and many others would usually wait till the end of the year and the last 2 months or so start pulling all-nighters and completing the units. And the teachers knew what was going on. They were like, okay, we got to get ready because all the students are gonna be heading in stuff now. It's the last 2 months. And the whole idea was to prepare you for university so that, yes, there are teachers, but you have to go approach them. You have to go be curious and ask them questions. So definitely learn some things there. Like how to get work done quickly, how to move the needle when you need to. But
How to work at a startup.
yeah, exactly, how to work in a
Yeah.
startup because you can't really overthink things. You just got to get things done, right? But yeah, and so I don't know. I would argue that my sister went to the same school and she did wonderful, and she's a lot smarter than I am. But I would say it gave me some skills for university, but I wouldn't say it was really hard when at the end, when you're learning a lot in a short period of time to retain that sort of information, especially when it came to calculus and algebra and things like that. It was a lot trickier for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you were telling me, was it, did you end up taking calculus in high school or was it college?
Yeah, it starts in high school and then my first year university, University of Toronto. I'm like, yeah, calculus, no problem. I did it in high school. I love math. And took the same approach. I played a lot of basketball in my first year at university. I played it competitively for the school. I was on the school team. So we had practices at 6 a.m., like 4 times a week. So it was a lot, but I'm like, okay, yeah, it's exam time now. Let me just prep for the last week or so, 2 weeks. And so I took the same approach. And lo and behold, I failed calculus my first semester at university. And I remember that day, I had to tell my dad I need to retake calculus part one again. That same day, I had to tell my dad two things. I had to tell him that I failed calculus. So I was trying to brace myself for the disappointment there. And then I also had to tell him that I got into a fender bender with his car and that he might
How
get a
did he
phone
take
call
it?
from somebody that's not too happy. And so I'm sorry, but I give my dad a lot of credit. He had a lot of patience with me growing up. I was a bit of a rebel. Being the oldest, I always was a bit more adventurous, broke a lot of rules. I was just really curious. I've always had that. I think that's something that I rely on a lot. Just being in different environments or in my job, whatever it is, I always try to rely on my curiosity. It gets me in trouble sometimes, but that's okay.
That's fine. That's fine. So he didn't go too hard on you? Get too hard on
He
you for
did
that 1 week?
not. He did not. I'm sure he was disappointed, but
He just,
yeah, he was a good dad.
he had confidence you would correct course on your own.
Yeah, I guess I could, maybe he gave me too much trust at that time, but eventually I was able to pass calculus. I had to retake it in the summer. I passed it and it was all good. Graduate university, even though I'm not really doing what I studied in university, I think which recruiter is, let's be real.
Yeah. Most
Uh,
people in general, right?
yeah, unless you took psychology in university, then maybe you're using some of that, I guess,
I
in
guess,
your
yeah.
conversations, but not really. I think people usually just fall into recruiting. So yeah, but yeah, it was an interesting time there.
So you were playing basketball throughout university, right? For
Yeah,
for the University of Toronto.
for the University of Toronto, played all 4 years, graduated, got inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame there, and then became a coach there. I coached for almost 7 years after, from
Nice.
2013 to 2020. Started with coaching the women's team, led them to their first championship in school history, and then coached the men's team
Nice.
for a few years there too. Learned a
That's
lot,
awesome.
had some good mentors. My coach that coached me, like he was, I mean, I learned how to endure hard times at those practices. You learn a lot of things as an athlete playing competitively that you just, if you don't are put in those life circumstances, like how else are you going to get it? Sports is a great way. You have your back against the wall a lot of times. You deal with injuries. Even if you get specific, like in game situations, you're down, like you got to fight. And then how to prepare, like how to put in the work when no one's watching, right? When you're not on the court. I learned a lot there, and I was able to, it was great to be able to share some of those learnings back with young adults as well as I was coaching. And COVID happened, and I stepped away from coaching for a bit. And then for the last 2 years, actually, I've been coaching a club team of 12-year-olds.
Nice.
My buddy, my good friend, he and mentor, his son turned 11 and started playing like rep basketball, and he asked, "Do you want to help coach?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm progressive. I coach grown men. I don't know how I would coach like 12-year-olds. It may not transfer well, but anything like when I went from coaching women to coaching men to coaching like 12-year-olds, you learn, right? You learn how
How
they,
different is it, like in terms of your coaching style to kids versus the teams at the university?
yeah, 12-year-old boys don't really listen that well, do they? But you teach them toughness, you teach them how to be gritty, how to be physical, how to overcome their insecurities on the court. And how to put in the work. You teach them a lot of those skills. And I think the beautiful thing is when you coach adults, they're already like they've already filled into their like most of their athletic potential. But when you coach 12-year-olds, improvement so quickly,
Pretty cool.
and it's like seeing your impact immediately almost, right? So within half a year, they're already so much better. And that's what really kept me there is just because I wasn't coaching my own kid or anything like that, right? So I was like really investing time into seeing these young men develop. And now they're going into high school. So hopefully they have some of those lessons that I've taught them and they can take it into high school.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's definitely different.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really cool. Do you ever see yourself going back coaching for University of Toronto again?
No, I don't think so because coaching at that level, it's almost like a rite of passage because after I left, I saw guys that I coached step into that role. And then once they leave, guys they coach will step into that role. So it's like a beautiful rite of passage where everybody gets an opportunity to give back to their alma mater, to the game of basketball, and to the community. I think that's the beauty because I took over from my coach, and my coach was there for a long time and he gave a lot. So yeah, I'm always going to be a coach, especially when it comes to basketball. I'm sure I'll find my way into it again. But yeah, I think it's better if that transition is made consistently and you get fresh perspective every few years and you give someone else an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
What did you like in terms of a performance standpoint as an athlete and then as a coach and pulling from your time at university and I suppose even more recently, right, coaching the kids. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering like what are your thoughts on performance coaching and helping people reach their potential when it comes to something super competitive? I'm just curious how you that I'm assuming that probably translates into how you think about leading and managing in the corporate world, right? Like how do you help people navigate challenges and reach their potential in competitive environments? Does anything stand out to
Yeah.
you?
Of course, I think once a coach, always a coach. I've always been the type of coach that's always favored hard work over natural talent. I think that translates to like how I recruit as well, especially for a startup, because every 6 months, even maybe less sometimes, the startups, the phases, it's a different cycle, things change. So the folks that have been here a long time are the ones that are able to consistently work hard and adapt to these different phases of growth. Sometimes you get talent for that specific moment and it's wonderful and it's impactful, but shortly after things have changed and it's no longer efficient or effective. So I would say coaching usually comes in two spots for me in my work. Number one is usually during candidate conversations. I don't think there's anything more competitive than being in a job interview cycle. It's a series of games that you have to win to get an offer. But also at the same time, you're really looking at making a thoughtful career choice for yourself as well. So I've had many conversations. I'm sure many recruiters are in the same spot where you find yourself becoming almost like a job coach or career coach or a coach to the candidates, especially when you are quick to realize this may not be a fit. So you usually find yourself coaching them on like how they're thinking about their next role, their opportunity, like how they're interviewing. So coaching kicks in there. And then I think for my current team, I love being a coach and thankfully they're receptive to the way I coach them too. And so I try to coach for different situations. They're obviously very talented in their own right, but I've also had great coaches in my life show me how to approach, coaching different types of people, right? How, like you said, how you coach women is going to be different from how you coach men. It's going to be different from how you coach 12-year-olds, right? And so it is very situation dependent, but it does come up often.
I hear you. Yeah. So fast forwarding to today, right? Head of recruiting role. I am curious to get a sense for what your obsession is professionally for 2026 at Skyflow. Like, where's all your headspace and all your energy going right now as you're building the team?
Yeah, that's a big question, man.
Yeah, it is.
Obviously, every recruiting leader is hacking half their brain space is just consumed by how AI is disproportionately affecting recruiting. It's inevitable, right? I've seen full out end to end AI recruiter solutions. I've seen the tools that we rely on so very often come out with agentic solutions within them. So it's really about being a almost like an architect, like a designer of a new process for recruiting, right? But things change quickly right now. So it's constant experimentation, it's constant trying new things. And that's what I really, I think one of the things that I think most people at startups will tell you is they have the freedom, or at least I do, to try different things. And if it doesn't work, James, I'm going to be the first one to try something else. You're not really, you're making a lot of these smaller bets to see what really will pan out versus making one large bet and hoping it works out. And that's one of the things, there's adaptability. I think it's just how I'm wired, man. I think it's something, I don't know if I'm doing it right, but you don't kind of know what you don't know. When it comes to just this year specifically, it's how do we really expose ourselves to all these different tools that we're able to use right now within AI. But the ultimate goal, and it hasn't really changed in the 4.5 years I've been at Skyflow, is to build a generational company, right? And of course, that breaks down to building amazing teams and hiring amazing people. And regardless of how much AI you have in your process or how much you don't, that's not going to change. It's the same as putting together a championship basketball team. You're finding different pieces that are going to work as a cohesive unit and ultimately go for that goal, right? And that's really how I look at building teams here at Skyflow. That's what I try to coach my hiring managers on as well when they build their teams. Sure, we want to find the right person for the right job with the right skill set, but what's the bigger goal here, right? And the big goal for everybody at Skyflow is to really build a generational company. And that feeling of that championship run, that's what really keeps me juiced up, man.
I love it. That's awesome, man. And I do want to get your thoughts too on just, and this is probably just a culmination of your professional career in the head of recruiting role as well as your career as an athlete and a coach. Like, probably, I mean, both of these things heavily influence the following conversation, which is I want to try to get your thoughts on what you feel like is most important to being successful in a head of TA role. And we were talking about it a little bit before we hit record on the prep portion of our call. One of the things you mentioned is it's really understanding goals and it's really understanding what stage the company's in. I think you mentioned is huge, right? Could you maybe break that down a little bit more for us and share what you mean by that?
Sure. I think when I think about my experience here, joining Skyflow series, post series A as the founding recruiter, if I came in and did what I'm doing now, I would have failed. If I do what I did then now, I'm going to fail. When I came in, I think what was most important was just really driving execution, really delivering, helping deliver quality hires, really, and this hasn't really changed this part, but really enhancing and uplifting our candidate experience to the point where it became a differentiator for Skyflow. And now with the team, it's a little bit different. I still carry a rec load. We're all player coaches here at Skyflow. But if I was obsessing over execution as much as I was obsessing over overall delivery of and partnership of recruiting to the company and our business objectives, it would be different. So I would say anybody really understand what the immediate goal is for your business, what is really going to move the needle, right? I think maybe most startups are carry a lot of characteristics and traits from the founder. We're a little bit anti-process here at Skyflow, which I think fits my DNA really well. And so I think the execution mindset, the pace that I moved at early on really made sense. And we still move fast, we still execute aggressively, but now it's really about how do we up level our teams? How do we really drive a more efficient process? especially going into market soon for additional funding and Series C. We really have to tighten up like how we deliver at scale. Things have changed. This is 4.5 years later. So every TA leader needs to, and if they're in that position as a TA leader, they've probably done great work. And someone's obviously trusting them to help build again a great company. I don't know if I can really give advice to other TA leaders, but I would say that's what's really helped me. What's our immediate goal now? And like how do I get buy-in from everybody to understand that? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you like, so can you talk to us a little bit more about like buy-in, right? Like driving alignment with your hiring managers and like particularly in the earlier days of scale or like where you guys are, right? How do you do that in a really fast-paced environment?
How do I do that? Sometimes it's just picking up the phone and giving them a call and having a conversation. Things change quickly, things move fast. We I think we're at the point where you can lead with data, you can lead with reporting, but ultimately I think having a true partnership is typically my approach. And I learned this actually before I joined the corporate side. I spent nearly 7 years at an agency, right? At a firm. So you have limited contact with your stakeholder and you have to build a lot of trust quickly. And so coming here, I've always leaned on that. I may not get as much FaceTime with my CRO as I'd like, but when I do, I use those opportunities to just get tell them exactly what's going on and what we need to do. I've also taken the approach of earning trust. I might be one of very few TA leaders that I don't know how to say this, but I've probably blocked my fair share of hires here at Skyflow, right? And what does that mean? I've really voted against hires, especially at the very end, because call it gut instinct or something doesn't add up, whatever it is. And through a couple of reference checks or back channels, it's usually proven correct. But we all know hiring is difficult, James. Find out a few months later you made the wrong hire or the right hire. I don't know. But I think speaking my mind in moments where it's been hard to, or maybe my voice is not the biggest in the room full of execs and you just have to speak up and earn their trust. So yeah, you take a little bit of risk there. Sometimes it works out, sometimes they might just be like, what the heck is Michael talking about? But through those moments, I think I've been able to earn trust. But also say this, I'm really one to give credit where credit's due. And I've had an incredible manager here. I report to the COO, and she's really given me that freedom and that opportunity. And I'm hoping all startups are like this, but I know it's not, to just be myself and own recruiting, right?
Yeah.
And own the relationships. And everybody here, including execs, are just a Slack message away. So if you're, whether it's building trust or just talking about something, it's all open door policy here. So I think that sort of environment has really helped me grow my confidence as a TA leader, as a new TA leader, and as a company builder, most importantly, right? I truly feel like I have skin in the game. And this sort of feeling, especially coming from an agency world where you work for a small firm and it's a really small field, I think I finally feel some of that again. And hopefully everybody at Skyflow feels this way, that they have skin in the
Yeah.
game. And that's a strong feeling, I think.
I love it, man. That's awesome. And I also just I want to talk to you a little bit about the future, right? And what's next for yourself. More specifically, who are you striving to become? What's your focus in terms of your own personal growth at this point of your life?
Yeah, I would say obviously it's probably two lanes here, professional and personal. And I mean, professionally, I'm I'm in a situation where we have a lot of freedom to experiment and try things in recruiting. And I'm going to continue to do that. There's a lot of new solutions out there that are AI driven that I've been experimenting with, whether it's AI screening, AI sourcing, or whatever it is, like where can it fit in, re-architecting our process, if it doesn't make sense, changing it. So I think professionally, I'd love to do things the unusual way and break the mold in recruiting a little bit, because I think it's been done the same for a very long time. right? And the more given like how we recruit now, what is really going to differentiate us as Skyflow? Let's be, we're like just people have their choices these days, especially if you're going after the top talent. Like, why not just differentiate yourself as a company, as a group of people, and as a platform, as a product, right? I'd love to just continue experimenting there and seeing what comes of that. And if we land on some unique or new or different things in the next year, like that's probably a great one. And then personally, I would say personally, it's always a journey to be more present, especially working from home, being online, I guess, whether it's on your phone or on the computer, just all the time. I'm always on this journey to be more present. I'd love to be a better partner, better dog dad, better son, better brother, better godfather, more present, better golfer, better tennis
Yeah.
player. So just really be present and enjoy the journey that I'm on
Yeah.
because it's beautiful.
But yeah, I think it's really important to be intentional about being present, particularly when you have a career that's super fast paced.
Yes,
Right? To
yes.
remember to slow down and disconnect and focus on what you're doing in the moment, particularly like
Yeah,
your
especially in
family
recruiting too, man.
relationships.
I think sometimes you go days or weeks and usually success or feel good or impact is measured by the job that you fill. Like if
Yeah.
the job is filled, you make an offer, you make a hire, great, we had a good day. But what about the other 95% of the days where you don't make an offer or fill a
Right.
job, right? How do you feel good about those? How do you stay present in those? So something I do is this is a trick I learned from one of my mentors at Salesforce is I have a folder of just feel good moments. I screenshot people that say nice things about me, whether it's in Slack or Glassdoor or just a text. And every so often I look at it, man. And it reminds me that my impact in recruiting is so much greater than filling jobs, right? I've helped people find amazing careers. I've coached them through difficult interviews. I've just been kind to people and they've appreciated it. So I think recruiting is so beautiful when you can just think about the greater impact that you've made on someone's life and what your role is. And so I try to really focus on those things these days.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Michael, look, I really enjoyed having you on the show today. It's been a lot of fun. And just as we're wrapping up, I just want to say thank you very much for coming on today and sharing your experiences, a little bit about your origin story, and your professional takeaways with our audience.
I appreciate that, James. Thank you for having me.